Welcome. It's so great to see so many faces. The girls to my left, Lauren Chu is from Stylus. Stylus, if you don't know, is a trends intelligence platform that works with brands to understand consumer trends across fashion, beauty, colour and materials, product design, retail, and more. Kate Alchin is a marketing manager at Pinterest, focused on the UK, Canada and Australia. Based in London, Kate's responsibilities include developing marketing programs and initiatives that build awareness and amplify the value of Pinterest for pinners, if you're a pinner. Next to Kate is Paula Taylor, Graham Brown, with a degree in 3D design, specialising in ceramics and glass. Paula worked first in the fabric and bedding industry before joining Graham Brown in 1995. Passionate about design and colour, Paula leads trend forecasting at Graham Brown, collaborating with colleagues across the globe to deliver their very highly regarded trend book and forecasting briefings.
So when we delve into our archives, we really like to look at the ethos from the Bloomsbury Group and the fact that they loved the fine art and everyday materials, and that really resonated well with us at Graham Brown. So that's why we wanted to create our wallpaper of the year, and we've called that Bloomsbury in Neo Mint. Bloomsbury Neo Mint, and as you can see, it's a beautifully drawn floral. We have insects on there, we have lots of foliage, and it adorns the wall. To coordinate with this, we have our Adeline paints in the dramatic dark bottle green, and we've taken the name from Adeline Virginia Woolf, who's one of the founder members of the Bloomsbury Group. And to coordinate this, we've got the stone colour paint, popsicle paint, and sterling green paint.
We just want people to wallpaper everywhere. We don't want people to have boundaries about wallpaper. You can wallpaper absolutely anything. I've recently been in France, and we've seen people wallpaper armoires and things like that. It's just fantastic.
You, Lauren, forecast years ahead, don't you? But actually, one of your predictions for 2019 was what you called analogue.
Reimagining history, we saw a resurgence of interest in antique and discarded materials that were elevated by pairing them with luxury items. So if you think of such as silks and aged leathers that were paired with materials, the focus on sustainability is so key that people are buying more into second-hand and repurposing antique items. So the trend itself, what we said actually, is it's very dark and opulent, and it has lots of rich colours that give us a sense of history.
Right. So you were saying on the phone the other day that some of the things people have been pinning, quite interestingly, is that sort of historical emphasis on, say, Georgian or Edwardian architecture. Tell us a little bit more about what you've been seeing on Pinterest.
There's definitely an appetite for nostalgia on Pinterest as well, where we have literally billions of interior ideas and inspiration on Pinterest. So we get access to lots of rich data, so we can actually see what people are searching and saving for. And yeah, interestingly, I ran a query the other day to see what the top searches were in the UK this year. And a lot of people search around eras, like, for example, like Georgian or Victorian. That's the way they're searching. But we've also seen an uplift in things like Bauhaus prints up 85%, and vintage wallpaper is actually up 90% this year. So I think that's real testament to that appetite for nostalgia as well.
Paula, you and I were talking about when you go into an archive, it's just not like going, oh, that's pretty and let's just reproduce that. With perhaps the Bloomsbury Neo, well, you're calling it Neo Mint, but it comes in a couple of colourways. How do you envisage that when you see it? How do you redesign it? How do you sort of envisage the room it will be in for the sort of more contemporary lifestyle we now live?
We're so lucky to have such a vast archive. That's our first port of call, really, when we're thinking about designing a collection. So we will go into the archive, we'll search through all the different wallpapers, and sometimes something can be in bright orange and have some really funky florals on it. But it's as a team, we'll reimagine that and think if we perhaps tweak the florals to make them a little bit more contemporary, or tweak the colours, we can just make it into something that is right for today. We've got people that can hand draw or hand paint and add to elements from the archive, which is fantastic for us, because it's just not necessarily that one piece. We can rework it so many times over. You have to have that handcrafting skill there to begin with
nature, especially now, considering so many of us are living in urban spaces. The United Nations predicted that by 2050, 66% of us worldwide will be living in urban spaces, and I think that just reflects how much we're craving nature, and this nature that brings a sense of well-being, and it's uplifting and it's nourishing. You know, for instance, in 2017, Pantone launched its colour of the year as greenery, and I think with that there's been so much, not necessarily because of Pantone, but there's been so much interest in green and because of its nourishing qualities, and we've seen that across the design landscape, you know, from fashion to technology. I think green is the right way. I think it's really important, and it's those associations with nature that are so strong, and that's why we want to surround ourselves with it.
Exactly, like plants and botanicals are huge on Pinterest, and you know, that's something that we've seen for a number of years now, but actually, again, speaking back to that confidence, people are actually exploring new ways of bringing nature into their home. For example, it might be through bold wallpaper, but it might also be through things like, you know, vertical gardens are up to 185%. And speaking to what you were saying about people living in much more urban environments, for example, editorially, stories that do well are like ideas for kind of small spaces, and actually like not everyone has a garden, so like what are those ideas of bringing nature into your home without having that instant connection with nature that perhaps you might have done if you lived in the countryside, but you're obviously a lot of people living in cities and more rented spaces. Self-care is something that we've noticed for a number of years. People are actually searching for self-care ideas on Pinterest, and we've even built out a whole week's worth of content around self-care that we actually have in the lead up to World Kindness Day, and that kind of transcends into the home as well. So people are looking for ideas to you know, a space for them that they can kind of switch off. Self-care even this year is up. I've got the stat somewhere. Hold a minute.
We love a stat.
Yeah, the stat is is 140%, but also like that kind of return and that kind of longing for kind of more simpler times. Bread baking was something that came out in our Pinterest 100 trends this year, and like I said, going back to that kind of tangible, working with your hands, switching off digitally, is something that people are seeking.
I mean, tactility is quite key to calming people down, and we've been looking at the wallpapers and the different surfaces and the different surfaces of the paint as well that can calm you down. Like a nice matte surface is really nice and calming. But the colours, yes, definitely colour can evoke all sorts of emotions from you. So we are looking at nice soothing colours, like I mentioned on our balance trend. There are lots and lots of neutral tones from there, both the greys and the warmer tones. But the Neo Mint is a really nice, calming, neutral, doesn't offend anybody. It's a nice pop of colour, it brings freshness, but it doesn't offend anybody. Colour is quite an emotive subject. We do tend to look at them in complete isolation. We don't think, oh, we can't use a green again because we had green last year. It is of the moment. And we've chosen it. It was kind of a panel choice, because I think I was explaining to somebody earlier on, if I had the complete choice, it would just be shades of purple, because purple's my favourite colour, but I'm not allowed that. So it is more of a panel choice and more of where we feel that wallpaper and that combination can really shine and reflect the feeling of that year. So that's why we've chosen. It's quite a striking bottle green, whereas the Tiru colour last year was a dark teal. So we feel it's completely different, but that's because there are children and we love all our children differently.
So I'm looking forward to some of the trends that we forecast for spring summer 2021 and the things that we're looking at now. It is definitely this the placement on joy and creating things with purpose. We're becoming increasingly conscious of our purchases, and we're wanting to invest in things that last, and that are durable. So if you're thinking of the archive trend, looking back towards our histories is really important, whether that's through personal histories or traditional techniques in terms of craft, and combining those with modern processes.
Yeah.
So I think creating an aesthetic that reflects both the modern and preserves the past.
All right, thank you very much for coming, and do talk to the girls after this if you want to as well. Thanks so much.
We had a fantastic event today. It's great for Graham Brown to be joined by stylists and Pinterest in terms of looking at the trends that are coming forward for 2020, and also to see the launch of Graham Brown's Wallpaper of the Year and Colour of the Year. And the response to our new TV commercial as well was absolutely fantastic. So it's just been a fantastic event.
So a brilliant panel today, and I think what the difference that we've seen with this particular launch of Wallpaper and Colour of the Year is having different people from various companies that focus on trends and forecasting, and actually seeing the similarities of what we're seeing at Graham Brown, and how those trends are kind of important for what people are looking at for their interiors. So it's really, really interesting from a product perspective that those trends are actually relevant, and that we're all kind of seeing the same things going into 2020.
Having entertained 50 of the leading press and influencers in the interior design world, they've all left with a massive feeling of great expectation around the Graham Brown brand. There's a real buzz and energy around what we're doing. They've had a fantastic morning, and they've learned about our wallpaper and colour of the year. It's been a great event.